Hello everyone and welcome to this screencast for the 1PPC01, no that's wrong, 1PCC01 assignment briefing. Yes, I got the code wrong, I do apologise. Oh, did I? Oh, I'm so confused. Anyway, here's a screencast so you can see the slides in front of you and you'll have my dulcet tones in the background. Okay then, so first things first, important information. This is the important information. The assignment is due on Monday the 27th of April, 12 noon. It will be 3,000 words long, so you will have the normal 10% in addition, so you will be able to go up to 3,300 words within this assignment. Please remember that if you go over that word count of 3,300, then you will start to lose marks from your overall grade. This assignment is worth 80% of the module mark, with your submission that you did back in October being the other 20% of the mark. Okay then, so the assignment, by the way, will be handed in or submitted just in the normal way on Turnitin. Okay then, so let's have a think about what we're actually including or what we're going to write about. So the assignment title consists of a quote followed by a statement. So Hattie and Clark in 2019 stated, asking good questions of the whole class and then of individuals while they are working during continual walkabouts is the teacher's main aid to establishing current knowledge or the depth of student understanding while it is happening. Okay then, and the statement for the assignments is critically evaluate the role of questioning to promote learning across all core curriculum subjects. Okay then, so just to emphasize some really important points on that, critically evaluate, we've got some slides coming up about how to do that. Role of questioning, understand that. To promote learning, so notice that you actually relating it to promoting learning, and then across all core subjects, so it's not just in maths or just in science, it's within science, maths and English. Okay then, so let's delve a little bit deeper. Let's look at it in a little bit more detail. So it is a 3,000 word assignment when you're going to consider by critically evaluating the role of questioning within the core subjects, and you must support your discussion with reference to relevant academic literature and research. So when it says relevant, we're talking about literature and research that is related to questioning within the core subjects, but also within the primary age range. You don't want to be going off and finding some literature about how questioning is used in higher education. We really need to keep it relevant to the actual assignment title. Okay, we go on to say you should indicate on the feedback cover sheet how you have used the feedback from formative subject knowledge task in semester 1 to improve your writing approach and or narrative. So this will be the first part of your assignment when you indicate what your targets were and also how you've improved on it, and this really helps both yourself and your marker, so we can then see what you have done to improve, and then we can give you specific feedback on that. The level of academic writing reference skills form a part of the assessment criteria, and therefore reference to wider subject-specific reading must be evidenced in your essay, and your essay must follow academic conventions relating to presentation. Okay, there's a slide coming up on that later on, but please make sure that you check how to reference. There's some wonderful guides on the YSJ library website. And if you're not too sure, then don't forget that you can query it with your module tutors or Claire McCluskey-Dean, the academic librarian. Okay then, so let's move further on now and carry on delving in a deeper way, more detail, sorry. So we've kept the title of this assignment deliberately broad, so you are in control. And one of the most important things about academic writing, but also the shift from further or secondary education into higher education, is that you are more of an independent learner. And because you are an independent learner, you need to make choices about structure, etc., etc. Now, we're not just going to throw you in and say, you know, go for it. We're going to give you some support on it and give you some ideas. But one thing that you should be doing is definitely looking back on your notes from sessions. I know within science sessions myself and within mathematics, we've been relating it back to questioning all the time and been saying, oh yes, this relates back to questioning. And within mathematics, Linda gave you a whole hour lecture purely on questioning. So, you know, you've got that piece of information as a starting point. So what could you consider? Well, the first thing that we want you to include is some reference to your observations from placement. We set you some tasks to do, and what we would like you to do is engage with that and use what you've observed to illustrate or support theory or the evaluation. So you might want to consider the following bullet points: how you ask questions, interrogation, how you interrogated children's answers, how you construct questions or questioning strategies that you've seen or that you have copied. You could have a discussion of the reasons we ask questions linked to placement, experience, as well as literature, but also remember that first, one of the major points of the title, to promote learning. How a questioning can be used to elicit and remediate children's misconceptions. And all those two words mean, elicit and remediate, is to find out children's misconceptions and then to correct them. So those are just two words that I've just given you the alternative meaning. Okay then, so there's lots of opportunities there for you to engage with literature and placement practice, but how do you put it together? Okay then, so first things first, always start all your assignments off with an introduction, and within that introduction signpost the content of your assignment. So you will be saying, this essay is a critical evaluation of the role of questioning. Can you see how I've used the title to form that first sentence? And then you might say, within this critical evaluation, the following themes will be discussed. And you can then add the themes that you're going to include in your assignment. Also, because you're going to be relating it to placement, we make sure that you provide some kind of contextual information about the school. Remember, the school's website and the school's recent Ofsted report are really good sources of information to support your points. So rather than just saying this is a nice school, you can say things like, in a recent Ofsted survey inspection, the school was graded so and so so and so. And just a side point on that, if you are referencing the school's website or Ofsted in your reference list, then instead of writing the school's name, just write the school or placement school. So just take it out of the URL and put in the placement school or something like that to ensure that everything is anonymous. Okay then, so then you'll have the main part of your assignment, and these are when you start to talk about the themes. So for example, it could be types of questions. So you could talk about closed questions, open questions, probing questions, but each time you come across one of these, try to link it to subjects, how they would be used, how do they promote learning, illustrate it with placement observations, so you get a very rounded argument and discussion. So you could say things like closed questions were used a lot in placement. You might give a definition according to reading what a closed question is. You might use reading to support the benefits and the disadvantages of closed questions to promote learning. And within this, you can then supplement it or relate it to your placement. So you might say, so-and-so says that closed questions encourage children only to give limited responses. And then you can put, this was observed throughout placement when teacher used closed questions, the children only gave yes or no answers. Okay, so you're sort of like linking those together. Now, once you've done all your themes, and it's up to you how many you do, but remember you want depth of critical evaluation, not just surface level discussion. Then at the end, you're going to conclude your assignment. And in a conclusion, you should summarize what you have discussed and then possibly suggest themes for the future. So you might say, therefore, after considering the roles of questioning, it has become apparent that open questions are more supportive of promoting learning within children, so these will be used on future placements. Something like that. And please do not just copy that, because that would be plagiarism. Okay then, so what is critical evaluation? Okay then, so in order to critically evaluate it, it's a linear process and it's 3 steps, and the most important step is the middle one. Okay, you have the description, then you have the analysis, then you have the evaluation. So basically the description is almost like giving a basis, a context of it. So it could be something like, within placement, closed questions were used the majority of time across all curriculum subjects. Okay then, that's all that we need. That is the description. We then come on to the analysis, and this is when you'll use reading and literature to support your arguments, to ensure that there's a balanced point of view coming across, and also linking it to learning. And then finally in the evaluation, you sort of like bring it all together and make almost like concluding remarks. Now what I've actually done for you is that I've extended both of these. So in the description, I've given you some bullet points for some questions. Now, please do not think, just as I said in the lecture, don't feel that you have to use every one of those questions. This is not the case. You just have to sort of like use the ones that you think are appropriate. It's giving you that, if you look at the description, it's giving you that background information and contextualizing the problem or the topic, and that's all it is. This should be relatively short. Okay, the next part is the analysis, and this is the big part, and this is when you explore the relationships of parts of each other and the whole and how they relate to each other, possible situations, alternative responses, and this is where the majority of your reading actually comes into play. Please remember, it's really important that you support all your strong statements with reading. Even though you might be very assured of it, or you've seen class teachers doing it, you need to somehow relate it and support it. It's actually fine to say that this is what reading says about questioning and this was not seen. That's absolutely fine. But you can't write your own sort of like, I know that this is correct at your level of academic writing. So please make sure that you, in order to achieve this, there is one simple method to do it. Do your reading beforehand. So don't sit down and start to plan something and then try to find quotes to slip in there, because if you can't find a quote, then the statement will remain and your marker is going to pick it up and say, you need to support this with reading. So the best way to do it, as I said in the lecture, is to go off and start reading about questioning. Look on the reading list, the recommended reading list. You are not going to find necessarily a book that says questioning in mathematics. But if you look at books to do with how to teach mathematics or English, then you will find questioning there. You might also find it in generic teaching books about primary education, and that's absolutely fine as well. Start to read, and as you're reading, put things together in theme. So if you find that you're reading one book and it says open, closed and probing, then start off 3 different documents with those in. Read the next book, what's supporting it, what's not supporting. Try to get multiple perspectives in there. Just because one person says it, it doesn't mean that that's an accepted point of view. If 4 people say from your reading that is more acceptable and accepted as an important theory. So really and truly, analysis is all about your reading and then relating it to what you've seen in school. Okay, and then finally, the evaluation. I always think of the evaluation, I put it at the top, this idea of implications, solutions, conclusions, recommendations, and I always think of the so what. And just so you know, an insight on how we mark, a lot of the times I will read your analysis and then be thinking, right, so what? This is a really good paragraph, but so what? And I'm looking for this final evaluation then and how to draw it all together. And this is when you can put everything together and sort of like summarize about, say, closed questions. Now then, that should give you an overview. And in order to help you, I've provided an example of some writing that has all those areas in. I'm not going to read it to you on this podcast, this screencast. So by all means, pause the video now and have a read of it. Okay, ready to move on? Brilliant. So just to sort of like finish off, some really important information. Read, 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 read. I cannot stress it enough. If you want a good mark, read. Don't go down the road of how many references do I need? You just read and read and read and get as many as you possibly can. Keep the description to a minimum. If you're describing, you've probably not done enough reading and you will not get marks for being descriptive. Avoid the use of contractions in your academic writing, so you can't say don't, isn't, it's, things like that. And remember, English is the only course subject that has a capital letter, apart from when we're talking about core curriculum subjects at the beginning of sentences, for example. Avoid abbreviations, so don't use etc, e.g. If you want to use e.g, then write out, for example. And remember, maths is an abbreviation of the word mathematics. It's the same number of words, so there's no difference. It's just that you need to be very precise. Use the right font, Arial or Calibri font, 11 or 12 font size, and 1.5 or double line spaced. Avoid the use of personal pronouns. This is an evaluation, so you will not have them in. If you find any pronouns that say I or my, then get rid of them. Instead of saying things like in my lesson, you would just say in the lesson. Okay, and this would like remove it altogether. Make sure your sentence make grammatical sense. Make sure you proofread well and that your paragraphs are carefully organized. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of this screencast. I hope it's been helpful for you. Can I please remind you that if you have any questions, then please go to one of your module tutors. They will be more than happy to help you. And if there's any questions about this actual screencast, then do let me know. Hope this has been helpful and good luck with your reading.